Right. Thank you everybody for joining. Um, this is the Ghana Property Forum. This was our third edition for this year. And what we normally do on the Ghana Property Forum is for us to have discussions on the real estate industry in Ghana, the land sector, the real estate industry, and any other pertinent issues that are bothering the industry, um, particularly in Ghana and across board. So we already have some recordings done on the mortgage market, on the legal implications in the industry, buying properties, and all of that. So you could find these on our YouTube channel. So for now, we are Prop Intel, but then we have the Ghana Property Forum that we use that as a channel to share knowledge on the property industry. As a Prop Intel, a property company, what we normally want to do is to promote transparency in African land, real estate construction, and infrastructure markets through technology, enabling the investment and occupier community and users of surveying services to sustainably make better decisions for a better world. And we are striving to achieve this by four main points. We are offering authoritative insights and opinions on the operation and performances of the property market. We are also promoting sustainability in professional standards and practices in surveying by enabling easy access to surveying professionals and services. We are also creating lifelong learning platforms and opportunities that help to equip surveyors, real estate investment, finance professionals with tools to analyze, present, and report and communicate real estate value marketability and feasibility to clients, investors, and in-house use. The last thing that we do is to provide essential tools that enable property developers and investors to structure their projects and deals to de-risk and facilitate construction and permanent finance capital raising. So these are the four key things that we want to achieve as Prop Intel, or we have always been striving to work towards. And one of the key aspect of it is also the Ghana Property Forum, which falls under our first thing of offering authoritative insight into the property market. And today, as you may be aware, we are looking at something concerning the digital real estate, which has to do with how surveying firms and surveyors are using online. How are they using online digital platforms to promote and advertise their businesses? But then the bigger question comes back to us whether surveyors can advertise or not. Yeah, and those are some of the things that we are going to be discussing today. If you look into the details of the reports that have been done so far, you can see that majority of the surveying firms, majority of the valuation firms, land surveying, valuation, and across board, they have very limited presence on social media. About 113 firms have been assessed, and the result is a shocker when it comes to those that are able to effectively utilize the digital domain for their business promotion and development. And that is why today we have Dr. Kenneth Donkoshama from the Department of Land Economy. He is also founder of the PropIntel LLC. So we are getting into the details of the discussion today. And trust me, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. If you have any questions, you can even use the interaction session, the React session to tell us about what you want to hear. So, Doc, let's quickly get into it. I tried to introduce you a little bit. If you want to talk a little bit about yourself too, that would be great for us to have a better idea of your expertise and skills. But then, who are surveyors and why are they important? And why should we be having this discussion in the first place? Thank you.
Mhm. Okay, so Godwin, thank you for this opportunity to discuss this issue of digital real estate. And as you indicated, I I'm a lecturer at the Department of Land Economy. I basically teach courses in the area of real estate finance, investment appraisal, and sustainability. For some time now, perhaps the last decade, I have been very interested in um, the surveying profession and issues of professionalism. Personally, I believe that a lot of the problems Ghana faces could be mitigated or reduced in some form if um, the surveying profession is up and doing, right? So think about it. Land is a very basic resource for development. And indeed, there's no country in the world that has not, that has developed without dealing with the land question. You get it? And a lot of the countries that are struggling to develop is partly because they have not been able to find solutions to the land problems. And especially in the area of land management and the development of land, right? And this is where this group of professionals called the surveyors come in, right? Interestingly, you'll find that there are three categories of surveyors, at least in Ghana. Unfortunately, when you mention surveying or surveyors, reference is often made to just one group of people. That is the land surveyors, right? So when people say that they are looking for surveyors, a lot of the time they are referring to land surveyors, right? And for this reason, you find that the two other groups of surveyors, and here I'm referring to the quantity surveyors and the valuation and estate surveyors, are not as popular as the land surveyors. And it makes a lot of sense because one, for many people, the first point of call when they want to invest in land and in real estate in particular is to get a land surveyor to do a site plan of the land they want to purchase, right? So it makes a lot of sense if land surveying is appears to be the most popular type of surveying profession in Ghana. Now, perhaps I'll talk a bit about what these three groups of surveyors do. And when you pick the land surveyor, they are usually engaged in the mapping and demarcation of land boundaries for various purposes, right? The quantity surveyor often focuses on construction cost estimation, contract administration, and project management. Whereas the valuation and estate surveyor often focuses on property valuation, management, and land administration and land management in some form, right? So these are the three main surveying groups. And you would bear with me that they are very, very, very important, especially when you talk about things relating to land administration, real estate development and investment, infrastructure development, even environmental conservation and resource management. Yes. Yeah, so that is my response to the question about who the surveyor is and the role of surveyors in development.
All right. Thank you very much, Doc, for that insightful um, introduction. And for us, for everybody here, it is important for us to actually understand these petty, I won't call them petty, these very critical aspect of the industry, because access in terms of um, ensuring that ensuring the legality of product in the market, and also promoting peacefulness and while we are actually conducting this study. And for me, it's important for us to understand why we are conducting this study in order for our idea of why is it even important for surveyors to have a social media account? Why is it important for surveyors to be thinking about promoting their businesses? And say, okay, we are promoting our surveying profession. Given the fact that there are many industries, um, many professional industry that have banned their professional uh, um, but when we come to the surveying profession, can we advertise? Are we matured enough to advertise as an industry when it comes to Ghana? Are we matured enough to say, okay, do not advertise? People will willingly walk to you. Do you think that the inability of surveyors to advertise is also contributing to the major issues that are happening in the industry when it comes to people not registering their land, people not following the major protocols to buy, sell, and also dispose of their land? So, Doc, you can take it from there with respect to
Okay.
the questions I've asked.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you talked about the issue of technology. So why is this study important?
Yeah.
First, I quite remember before we started looking at this study, the main reason why um, we were interested in this study was because we were looking at how technology was impacting different professions, right?
Yeah.
And globally, we know that technology is disrupting many industries, including the surveying profession. Indeed, jobs and activities in the built environment, according to the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, have become vulnerable. And indeed, in their research titled The Impact of Emerging Technologies on the Surveying Profession, they estimate that valuers, for example, stood a 95% chance that their jobs would be automated by 2035, while surveyors in general saw a 63% chance, right? And so um, there is some possibility that if you're a surveyor and you are not developing your technological skills, chances are that you may become outdated and you may lose grips in terms of the profession that you find yourself in. But another thing that for us motivated us to undertake this study was this very question you asked. Is it, or could it be the case that the fact that you don't see a lot of surveyors online or using various online platforms like social media platforms, um, is it contributing to the lack of popularity of the surveying profession, especially among the average Ghanaian?
Yeah.
From where I sit, I think it does. Because remember the point I made earlier on that in Ghana, when you talk about surveying, most people think about land surveying. So why are they not thinking about the quantity surveyors and then the valuation and estate surveyors, right? It tells you that there are some knowledge gaps in there, right? And so in our preliminary um, investigation, we interacted with some surveyors about this issue of advertisement because we know that in some professions, like the law profession, advertisement is highly restricted, right? So we were interested in finding out whether it is so in the surveying profession. And to us, I mean, we realized that one of the preliminary findings we made was that almost all the people we interacted with, irrespective of their experience in surveying, had a certain notion that the professional association, which is the Ghana Institution of Surveyors, does not allow for explicit advertisement or promotion of services, right? So I was a
Yeah.
bit shocked, and I was particularly interested in finding out the authority behind this. And this is where I would say the second leg of the research began. So we decided that we were going to look for the authoritative materials that supported that view. And it's very surprising that one of the key materials we found, which directed us to various other authorities, was that the surveying profession, or the Ghana Institution of Surveyors, which is the main professional body for surveyors, does not restrict advertisement or promotion or valuation services, right? And so one of the materials we looked at, and I'd like to show you, is this book by Kweku Obim-Mreku. So Kweku Obim-Mreku is a surveyor, an experienced surveyor, and a lawyer. And currently, he's a part-time lecturer with the Department of Land Economy. So he's one of my colleagues at the department. And he wrote this book in 2021, The Making of the Surveyor. And this book is a book that is endorsed by the Ghana Institution of Surveyors and is even forwarded by the then president of the Ghana Institution of Surveyors, that is Surveyor Dr. John Amaglo, right? And in fact, the book was reviewed by key members of the Ghana Institution of Surveyors. And in this book, he argues, in fact, there is a chapter, which is chapter 20, which basically answers the question, can surveyors advertise? And that is the title of that chapter, actually. And here he makes a very important point, that after looking at the Constitution, the bylaws, and the Code of Ethics of the Ghana Institution of Surveyors, he does not find anywhere in those key documents or those key authoritative documents that restrict explicit advertisement or promotion of of surveying services. Indeed, he makes reference to 4 main rules of the GHIS that seeks to regulate advertising activities by surveyors in Ghana, right? So maybe I want to take the opportunity to talk a little bit about these 4 key rules. And
That'll be
the
helpful.
first one is what he points out as Rule 10 of the Rules of Conduct for Members and Firms, which was published in 2007. And in this rule provides that a firm shall promote its professional services only in a truthful and responsible manner. So I'll read that again. A firm shall, and the emphasis is on shall, promote its professional services only in a truthful and responsible manner. Now, the next rule he refers to here is Bylaw 16.1, which states that no member shall publicize his services or allow his services to be publicized in association with any good or service available from any other source in such a way as, in the opinion of the governing council, call into question the independence of his professional advice or give rise to conflict of interest, right? So in Rule 10, surveyors are mandated by the use of the word shall, right, to advertise, to promote the profession. But the condition is that it should be done in what? A truthful and responsible manner. When you look at the bylaw 16.1, it doesn't also give you any impression that surveyors can not advertise. Rather, it says that you should not do it in association with any the advertisement of any good or service that will put your independence as a professional into question. You get it? So if you are advertising your services and perhaps a food and drinks company wants to attach itself with what you are doing, and you realize that that could compromise your independence, then um, that is grounds for irresponsible behavior, for which reason you should not go ahead and do that advertisement. Now he looks at the third rule, which is Rule 17.1 of the Code of Ethics, which reads that every member shall ensure that any publicity for which he may be held responsible shall be accurate, not misleading, or likely to cause public offense. So once again, you can see that there's no restriction on whether you can advertise or not. But then it says that you would have to make sure that whatever publicity for which you'll be held responsible is accurate and not misleading or not offensive to the public. And then the last rule is Rule 5.4 of the Code of Ethics. And it provides that a member shall ensure that the requirements of a town and country planning, of the Town and Country Planning Act, Municipal and District Assembly bylaws on control of advertisements made thereunder relating to the erection and display of advertisement boards are complied with. So, you know, the local government, through the district assemblies and the municipal assemblies, have regulation of or regulate the size of signboards or signages and so on that can be placed or that can be used for purposes of publicity. So there are certain rules. And here you can see that the professional body is not restricting surveyors from, engaging in publicity through signboards, but rather the professional association is saying that you should comply with the regulations of these institutions. So quite clearly, when I read this chapter of the book, and more so because it's also coming from an experienced surveyor and a lawyer, right, who understands issues of law, matters of law, right, issues like constitution, bylaws, code of ethics, and his conclusions are that surveyors are not prohibited from advertising. And even more importantly, because this book is endorsed by the Ghana Institution of Surveyors, was reviewed by key people in the Ghana Institution of Surveyors. I wonder why surveyors have limited the promotion of their services and the surveying profession to referrals only and very traditional ways of business development. So I asked the question, why are surveyors, for instance, not using a lot of these technologically driven platforms, like these online platforms, social media platforms, to promote the surveying profession, and of course, for business development. And this was, once this hurdle of advertisement was cleared, we decided then to explore the extent to which surveying firms in Ghana are utilizing these online platforms, or what we are referring to as digital real estate, for the promotion of surveying. And perhaps I'll touch briefly on this idea of digital real estate, right? So almost every business operates from some form of real estate, right? Almost every business has some office or some shop. In the world of real estate, we call that corporate real estate. That's the corporate real estate, the underlying real estate that supports the business of that company. Now, traditionally, that is brick and mortar, and it is fixed in location. And so if you needed a service, you almost always needed to go to that office, right, to procure or get that service, right? And that is very limiting. Think about it. If someone maybe lives in Sunyani and your office is in Accra, the cost, what you in economics we call the transaction cost, is going to be very high, in trying to get the service from that company. And so one advantage of these online platforms, or what you call digital real estate, is that digital real estate is any digital asset that is owned by a business. And here, these online platforms enable firms, businesses to extend their corporate real estate, in such a way that access to their services is enhanced. You get it? And so that is one of the key benefits of having these, or having to use these online platforms. Yeah.
Well, that is a shocker or a kicker. Anyway, because I think a majority of the people in the industry, and prior to my graduation from the Land Economy Program in 2021, the conversation has been that surveyors cannot promote, cannot advertise their businesses. And so it's some sort of this, I think this is what the very first material that is clarifying that misconception about whether or not surveyors can advertise or not. And I think it's a good step. But like if you put a rope around the neck of a sheep for too long, it assumes the rope is still there. So there's still more work to be done in terms of psychologically renewing the mindset of the industry about the possibility that they can advertise. Because from the report that is available from the research that was done last year, it still indicates the scanty nature of the industry professionals in promoting the business, the surveying profession. And so I think, Doc, it would be good for you to actually take us through the study, how the study was done. I think we have now firmly grasped the understanding of the motivation for the study and how it was done, and what are the findings and implications. What should the industry be doing? What are students in school be doing? What should they be doing? How should they be positioning themselves to take advantage of this huge opportunity that is in the industry with respect to promoting of the surveying profession?
Okay. So thank you, Godwin. Yeah. So I like the point you made about, tying a rope to a sheep for a long period of time, and then it assumes that it cannot move, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Interestingly, in my interactions, I realized that many of the things that influence the behavior of surveyors, especially in relation to explicit promotion or advertisement of surveying services, is because of what the rule perhaps was some years ago, right? So when I was a student, I had the same notion, and I was a student about more than about 13 years ago, and this notion that people cannot advertise was still there, right? And
Yeah.
in my interaction with very old people in the profession, there was a sense that it used to be the case that there were very strict rules on advertisement.
Yeah.
People could not advertise, and the only channel for promoting yourself, perhaps one of the key channels, or perhaps one of the main channels for advertising yourself or promoting your services, was through referrals and excellent delivery of services, such that
Yeah.
third parties can then, or your client will go out there and market or promote your services for you. You get it? Yeah. So now let me come back to the question. And in terms of how we went about doing this study, this is how we went about it. So in trying to understand the extent to which surveying firms in Ghana are utilizing digital real estate to promote themselves and their businesses, we decided that we're going to survey the surveying firms in Ghana, really. And we're lucky to come across a publication by the Ghana Institution of Surveyors of its members in good standing as at the year 2023. So in that document, we found that there were 113 surveying firms across the three divisions of the institution that were marked as firms in good standing, right? So a breakdown of this 113 surveying firms is what you have on the screen. So 166 of them were valuation and estate surveying firms. 36 of them were quantity surveying firms. 11 of them were land surveying firms. So quite clearly, you can see that most of the firms in the sample are valuation and estate surveying firms, followed by the quantity surveying firms and then the land surveying firms. Now, once we did this, we had to come up with some key questions. And here, one of the key questions we were interested in is, one, to what extent are these firms utilizing online platforms? And by online platforms, we meant websites and social media platforms, right? And by social media platforms too, we meant three main platforms. So LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, which is currently X, right? And so what we did was that we conducted two main searches. First, in Google search engine, we picked the names of these surveying firms and searched for them in Google, right? Okay. And when you do such a search, any publication on that firm will show up. So, for instance, if they have a website, it will show up. If they have a Facebook account, it will show up. If they have a LinkedIn account or a Twitter account, all of these links might show up, right? So that was the first stage of data gathering. And interestingly, when we use that approach, some institutions did not, or firms did not show up. And so after going through this first stage, we decided that we will go onto these online platforms themselves, especially the social media platforms. So for example, we went to Facebook and searched for the firms over there as well. You get it? So we also went on LinkedIn and also on Twitter and searched for these institutions over there as well. And here we were interested in two key questions. One, do these surveying firms have a presence on these platforms, online platforms? And if they have a presence on these online platforms, are these platforms functional? Right? So you see, someone can have a website and the website may not have been updated for many years, right? Someone may have a social media platform, and by the you realize that that platform is not functional, in the sense that the last time the firm published anything or posted anything about the firm and surveying on the platform was maybe many years ago, from 3 years, 4 years, or even a year ago. All of this give you a sense of the functionality of these platforms, right? And so this is how we measured it. If our search indicated that a firm was present on any of these websites, for example, a firm has a website, we marked it 1, we scored it 1. If it has a presence on the 3 social media platforms we were looking at, we scored it 1 for each of the platforms, right? And based on this, we're able to come up with some quantitative sense of the presence of these firms after converting the scores into some form of percentages. You get it? And so we were able to rank the firms based on these scores. And that constituted the first part of the work we did. The second part of the work we did was that for those firms that had websites, and we think a website is a very, very, very important digital asset. Indeed, the social media platforms are in some form websites, right? But a
Yeah.
dedicated website developed for the purpose of a business is very important because over there you are able to um, tailor the website to the needs of the business. And so there are a lot of benefits that can be achieved using websites, to disseminate information about the business, about the profession, and also to even interact with the firms. And so we're interested in knowing the maturity of those websites if a firm had those websites in the first place. You get it? And this is how we went about it. We used the Pointer Pro 10-point online presence maturity assessment criteria. So Pointer Pro is an organization that is involved in the assessment of performance, especially using online tools. And they have a criteria for assessing the online maturity of a firm. And so I would go through these 10 items in the criteria that we looked at. So one, we're looking at whether a firm had an existing block. You see, there are many firms that have very basic information about what the business is about. They have some information on the contacts of the key people in that firm. And for many of them, that is all you find on the website. And so, in terms of maturity, we were interested in knowing whether a firm had a block. And a block on a business website signifies consistent content generation, right? It means that the principals or the workers of that business are constantly generating topics of interest to their clients and to the citizens about issues that matter to them, issues that concerns them, and issues of importance to the surveying profession. So we were interested in that. And so a blog signifies consistent content generation, offering insights and engaging readers, which can be an indication of website maturity. Secondly, we were interested in knowing the presence of a newsletter sign-up form. So one other way that many of the big institutions that really utilize online platforms to engage their clients is that they often have a newsletter item. And this newsletter item is designed to keep their clients informed, about latest trends or happenings in the profession, right? And that is very important. So having a newsletter on your website is key because it assesses the website's commitment to maintaining ongoing communication with its visitors, a feature often found on more matured sites that have a planned digital marketing strategy, right? So a newsletter is key. The third item or criterion is information about key personnel. You see, surveying to a large extent is consultancy, and the quality of the work that is often delivered will depend on the quality of the people working in these surveying firms, right? And so a lot of the time for people to build credibility or for the firm to build credibility and trustworthiness, it will to a large extent depend on the kind of people they are working with or the kind of people who are delivering the services in these firms, right? And so you find that in many of the matured businesses and firms, they would have some information on the key people who are working in those firms. You get it? And that is important. The fourth criterion was customer testimonials. Customer testimonials. The traditional form of promotion in many of the traditional professions like law and surveying was usually through customer testimonials or referrals, right? And so for many websites, it is important that you put some of these testimonials there, right? For people who are looking for surveying services or looking forward to commissioning surveying services, it will be important for them to see um, these testimonials. And it is important in the sense that it shows the areas where the firm has expertise. You see, you meet surveyors, for example, you meet a valuation and estate surveyor, and in valuation and estate surveying, there are many, in fact, a list of activities that valuation and estate surveyors may be able to do. But then you realize that some may have more experience in some areas than others. You get it? And that piece of information is very important to anyone who wants to commission a service. He should have access to such information. And so some form of testimonial could help bridge that knowledge gap. And then the fifth criterion was interactive content. So when I go to your website, is your website designed in a way that enables me to interact with your business, right? So for instance, today there are chatbots where people can ask questions and the chatbot can churn out information without, people sitting in the background or the back office answering some of these questions, right? And some of the interactive content that a firm can put on its platform, maybe videos answering key questions relating to the profession or some of the services they offer. You get it? So these are very, very important things that indicate the maturity of a website. Then we look at the CEO and the company's active presence on LinkedIn. So you see, LinkedIn has been accepted as a platform for professionals to showcase themselves, their credentials, and services they offer. So you find that many CEOs of some of the big companies are on LinkedIn. You get it? And so a firm's presence on LinkedIn could also be used as a way of gauging its the maturity of its website. Then the seventh criteria is what is called domain authority score. So the domain authority score can offer insights into the website's ranking potential in search engines. You get it? So if someone is looking for your firm and the person tries to search, say, on Google, how does your website rank? You get it? The domain authority score would give us a sense of that. And then the eighth criterion is contact options. So a variety of contact options signify a website's preparedness to engage with visitors and respond to their needs, often a feature of matured, user-friendly website. So on your website, do you have contacts? How people or mediums through which people can contact the principals of the business? And you find that for many a business, there may be some information on contacts, say a mobile phone number, and you call the mobile phone number and it is inactive, right? Sometimes there are emails. You send an email to that email address and it bounces back saying that there's no email of that sort and so on. So all of these things are concerning and it inhibits the development of the surveying profession. So we were very keen on looking at the issue of contact as well. Then we looked at the issue of speed score. So when someone searches the name of your website, how fast does your website come up or pop up? You get it? All of these are very, very important things because it ensures a better user experience and contributes to search engine optimization. You get it? So if it is so difficult for people to access your website because it takes so long for the website, to open up, then quite clearly a lot of people will not be interested in this. And the reason why this is so important Perhaps maybe I'll take the opportunity to refer us to a study done by a US institution that is, let me get the name for you, Squarespaces in 2001. And they show that across all ages in the US, for instance, people say or agree that an online presence is more important than a physical brick and mortar location for firms. And not only that, they also believe that the impression you create online, so the impression could be how easy or the ease with which people are able to access information about your business online, right? They say that what it is more important than real world ones. That is actually showing up in the physical realms. And
Yeah.
even for this group of people who were surveyed, and this is across all ages. So you have the various generations in there, the baby boomers, the Gen X, the millennials, the Gen Zs, and so all of them. They said that before they contract the services of a firm, for instance, they often check their online presence. They often check the websites of those firms. Before they procure services, before they eat, for example, at a restaurant, they will check their online presence and so on. And so it is not to say that Ghanaians would have the same preferences, but you would agree with me that today many Ghanaians are spending many hours online. They are searching for
Right.
information about firms and so on and so forth. And so the conclusions drawn in the US case may apply in the Ghanaian case as well, right? And so the last item we looked at was video content. So you see, for those of us who have studied a bit about social media and so on, you realize that video tends to give you more reactions than pictures and text, right? And so, by way of measuring the maturity of your website, if you have video content in there, which either promotes your business or is answering some form of question or is enlightening the citizens about trends in the market, these are all signs of a matured website. So, Godwin, these are the key things we looked at in this study.
All
I don't
right. All
know if
right.
there are any further questions. Other than
Yeah.
that, maybe I would just go ahead and show some of the results.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Prof. I think you have given us really detailed insight into how the study was conducted. And I think that brings a lot of transparency with respect to how the data was fetched and also used in this analysis, which will give everybody a clear mind as to what the findings actually are and maybe some biases that may have occurred in the process of the study. But I think there are no questions in the chat. There are no questions. So we can quickly advance into the next part of it, which is the findings and implications of these findings to the industry, and also how can people position themselves to benefit from this gap that is in the industry. I think that is really important because the majority of the people who may have joined this meeting today may also be students and maybe looking out for opportunities on how to and areas to build their skills around. And it will be good for us to understand what skills they will need and how they can get into this based on the findings of the study. So you can go ahead, Doc.
Okay, yeah. So thanks once again. Yeah. So let me give you some of the key findings from this study. So, in terms of the extent to which firms were using online platforms, what we are referring to as digital assets. Here, we're looking at it from the perspective of website presence and social media presence on Facebook, LinkedIn, and then on Twitter or X, right? So in terms of website presence, we found out that out of the 113 surveying firms in good standing in Ghana, only 27% of them have websites. Only 27% of them have websites, right? And the 27% will bring us to, I think, about 30 to about 31 surveying firms. So out of the 113 that was looked at. And out of this 27%, 26 were functioning and only one was non-functional, right? And we also find out that the website presence varies across the three divisions of the Ghana Institution of Surveyors, right? So for instance, we saw that the Land Surveying Division has the highest web presence. That's about 55% of the 11 surveying firms that we looked at. And this was followed by the Quantity Surveying Division with 33%, and the VES is trailing with just 17%. So out of the 66 VES firms, or valuation and estate surveying firms, only 17% had a website, right? Now, whereas all the land surveying and valuation and estate surveying websites were functional, we found out that 3% of the quantity surveying firms' websites were non-functional, right? So they had a website, but it's just non-functional. And of course, these statistics indicate a weak website presence, right? We had wished to see a better result, but that was what we found in terms of website presence. Now, in terms of LinkedIn presence, only 10% of the 113 firms have LinkedIn presence, out of which we saw that only 3% is functional and the remaining 7 non-functional. So effectively, only 3% of these surveying firms have functional LinkedIn accounts, right? And then again, you find that their LinkedIn presence also varies across the 3 divisions. So among the land surveying division, 27% of the firms have LinkedIn presence, although most of them, that is 18%, are non-functional, right? So, and similarly, out of the 12% of the VES firms with LinkedIn presence, most of them, 9%, are non-functional, right? And none of the quantity surveying firms have LinkedIn presence, right? So that is how striking the situation is, or the issue of a lack of online presence is. Now, when we looked at Facebook presence, we found out that a total of only 15% of all the 113 surveying firms have Facebook presence, right? Most, that's about 12% of which are non-functional. So similarly, Facebook presence would vary across the 3 divisions. So once again, you find that the land surveying firms have the greatest presence on Facebook. About 36% of the firms were present on Facebook. And this followed by the VES firms, about 17%. And then the quantity surveying firm, just about 6%. And most of the land surveying firms, that's about 27% of the 11 land surveying firms that are in good standing, and 14% of the valuation and estate surveying firms have Facebook accounts that are non-functional. You see, and indeed, all the quantity surveying firms' accounts are non-functional. So you see how serious this issue is. I think the last straw that um, more or less supported this view of a weak presence online was the fact that none of the 113 surveying firms that we saw in 2023 had a presence on Twitter or X. None of them, right? So it's quite clear what this whole thing is. So looking at, and you can see this, some of the results we generated on the screen. So here you find that based on the data we collected, we're able to generate a sort of a ranking for these firms. And maybe I'll walk you through this ranking I'm showing you over there. So this ranking is about the online presence ranking of the surveying firms. And here, the graph you see there is presenting a ranking of the online presence of surveying firms. And the ranking, or the ranked firms are those that are present on at least one online platform, right? So website, whether the firm has a website, Facebook account, LinkedIn account, or a Twitter account. So we found that less than half of the surveying firms are present on at least one of the above online platforms. And here you have just about 35.4% of these firms having at least one of these accounts. Now, the results show that most of the firms scored up to just 25%, right, in terms of their presence online. So, in effect, most of them scored less than 50% in terms of their online presence on these platforms. We saw that 3 firms share the top position with an overall rank percentage of 75%. 4 of the firms scored 45%, 3 of the firms scored 35%, 9 of the firms scored 25%, and then 3 of the firms scored 20%, and 8 scored 10%. Now, there are at least 3 implications of this ranking, right? So first, it highlights the weak online presence of surveying firms. Secondly, it can be implied that these are the only firms that are taking advantage of online technology to conduct and grow their surveying businesses, right? And 3, these are the firms investing efforts in promoting the surveying profession and services online through their websites and social media platform. So I firmly believe that there's a lot of room for improvement in this area. And perhaps those that are doing very well, one way or the other, should be rewarded, as you would see. Now, the last part of this work bordered on the website maturity assessments we did. The website maturity assessment we did. And I'm showing you on the screen the results in this chart. Now, the results I'm showing you reflects the current state of digital maturity of the surveyed firms. And once again, it is based on the Pointer Pro 10-point online presence maturity criteria. So I'll walk through the 10 points and what we found. So in terms of block presence, you can see from this chart that the area where most of the firms do very well, right, is the provision of contact options on their websites. Most of them, right, had some contact information on there. In fact, all of them had contact information on there. But there's the point. Having contact information for clients to use in assessing your service is not the same as saying that that information is functional or is working, right? So, for example, some of them may have mobile or phone numbers on the websites that are not working. Yeah, one of the weaknesses of this study is that we didn't go into that, right? We didn't go into finding out if those numbers or emails addresses were functional. And it's a plan that in 2024, we are going to do that, right? Then again, we saw that in terms of website speed, most of them had websites that were very fast, right? And we said that that enhances user experience. And so it is very good. The third area where the firms do very well is in the website's domain authority, right? So when you search for them, they tend to rank very well in the searches that we did. And then in the other 7 areas that we looked at, we saw that the firms performed below the 50% mark, right? So in essence, these are areas where surveying firms should be aiming at improving, right? So for instance, you can see that in terms of whether a website contains information about its key people, most of them didn't have information about the key people. And so the credibility and the trustworthiness of such websites, and perhaps even the firms, may be in doubt. You get it? Because if I'm looking for maybe looking forward to commissioning some work, and in my preliminary study, I'm looking for people with experience who have done that work before. And I go to your website, I find that there's nothing about your personnel. That could be a put off, right? That's even for in terms of shortlisting your firm to discuss further. So that is an area the surveying firms look at to improve. Then again, you saw that less than 20% of the firms had blogs on their website, right? And we said that blogs are part of the interactive opportunities, right? It shows that the firm is putting in a lot of effort to communicate with its clients and the citizens at large. Then again, in fact, less than 10% had websites that had video content. Once again, it also got to do with engagement and interactive content. Less than 10% had that. And whether the CEOs of the company and the company have active presence on LinkedIn, that again, we also see that less than 10% of the firms were actively online. Then if there are one or more customer quotes on the website, you also saw that less than 10% of these websites had testimonials on there. And if the website contains interactive content, and by interactive content, whether I could go onto these websites and search for information, say about surveying, about the services of the firm, right? Maybe through a search engine or maybe a chat bot. None of the firms had that kind of feature or had websites that had that kind of feature. And then the last one, if there is a newsletter item, most of them didn't have that. Almost none of them had that feature. So this is the results on the website maturity issues we found. And for me, there are 6 key conclusions that can be drawn from this study, right? And maybe I'll just take the opportunity to go through them. So one is that the assessment of the digital footprint and the quality of the digital real estate across the 3 divisions of the Ghana Institution of Surveyors, that's the Land Surveying Division, the Quantity Surveying Division, and the Valuation and Estate Surveying Division, spanning websites and social media platforms like LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter or X, indicates a considerable deficiency in digital engagement across the platforms. Two, there is the overall lack of websites, especially within the quantity surveying division and the VES division, points to mixed opportunities in terms of online visibility and customer reach. Although the land surveying division has the highest proportion of functional websites, there is still room for improvement. Three, the LinkedIn presence among all the divisions is significantly lacking, with the quantity surveying division having no LinkedIn presence at all. The VES and then the land surveying division, they show a weak presence, with many entities either lacking a LinkedIn page or having non-functional ones. Four, Facebook engagement, while marginally better, still reveals a weak digital presence. So you find that the QS division, again, shows no functional Facebook pages, with the land surveying division and VES having limited functional or functioning pages. And then the fifth conclusion is that the most glaring omission across all the 113 firms is the complete absence, their complete absence on Twitter or X, right? And then the last one, which is the sixth conclusion, is that this gap in online engagement is a substantial setback for the surveying profession and hints at missed opportunities for enhanced engagement with clients, visibility, and potential growth of the surveying profession. So it's our call that in this technologically driven and information age, we expect that the surveying firms will take the opportunity of the available technologies to promote the profession and also develop business through these platforms. Yeah, so Godwin, these are the findings we made from our study.
All right. Thank you very much, Prof. And I really appreciate the fact that you have taken us through all of this. That has been a marathon. But then before we go, there are a few questions that I have here, and I've just been thinking: is it possible for surveying firms? Do you think surveying firms are ready to invest in terms of promoting themselves? And one thing too that I think is making it difficult for young people to say they are going to start something on their own. So if you are a young person and you are out of school and maybe you've worked for 5 years and you want to move out to start something on your own to say, okay, I want to do evaluation. I want to start with evaluation, but then I want to do it maybe not under any firm. You want to just go into an entrepreneurship, valuation entrepreneurship. I don't know if there's something like that, but that is just a term I would like to borrow to describe that. Do you think having this capacity to launch an online campaign or having an online presence that is of a good nature to capture attention of people has some possibility to break to get you into the market without maybe necessarily considering having been referred by someone else before you can get a business? Because majority of the people, before you can get a business, somebody needs to talk to somebody and say, okay, I know a valuer who can do this for you. I know a valuer who can do this for you. Do you think that people necessarily go online to also search and say, okay, we want to get a surveyor for this project, or there's still that mindset of I need to get somebody among the consumers of the surveying profession? Yeah.
Okay, so if I get you very clearly, there are two questions here.
Yeah.
In other words, your question is double-barreled, right? So in the first instance, you want to know if surveyors or surveying firms are willing to engage in the development of their online presence.
Yeah.
I have no doubt that surveying firms are rational and they are led by rational people, right? Um, Such that if it can be shown or demonstrated that these online platforms are beneficial to their businesses and to themselves, they would reject such an offer, right? So it is for us to demonstrate, in clear and terms that these are the mixed opportunities that surveyors could have benefited from if they had some of these, if they had a very strong presence online. As I showed you in the US case, nowadays a lot of people are transacting business online, right? They may not buy land online, but there are certain services they can easily procure online. One of them is, okay, quite recently, um, a foreign company from China is shortlisting firms, to commission some market analysis. And they engaged one of the firms we assessed, right? I believe they saw the engagement of the firm online because that firm ranks as one of the top firms with a very strong online presence. That is Orient Properties, and I was happy they engaged me to have a conversation with this Chinese firm. You see, yes, and I believe strongly it's because of their online presence that they were even identified in the first place to discuss some of these business opportunities. And so there are many of such opportunities that I believe the valuation firms, the surveying firms in general, would benefit from if they would pay some attention to it. Your second question. Um, uh, Maybe you can summarize that for me. I think it's mixed up with what
Well, I was asking about whether or not people, especially people in Ghana, because for me, you can observe if you check the location of most of the valuation firms, majority of them are based in Accra and Kumasi, and I think Koforidua. If you should study the locations of
Yeah.
these firms, so the Western region, the Greater Accra region, Ashanti region, those are the major places that the firms are located. And I've been asking that, do you think people necessarily come online also to the end? I think it ties into what you earlier said, and that is from an international perspective. But from the domestic level, do you think there are people who move from they just want to search for a valuation firm online to go and work with,
Okay.
and yeah,
Okay.
and can we are we going to get more of that? Can we get people just coming online to search for valuation firms
Valuation
from
firms.
the domestic level? Yeah.
Okay. So, a few months ago, I was involved in a training organized by the Ghana Chamber of Construction Industry. The chamber is the umbrella body for all the built environment professionals, right? So the surveyors are there. The Ghana Institution of Surveyors is a constituent member of the chamber.
Okay.
And there was a training by, I've forgotten the exact institution, but it's got to do with cyber security. So the training was on cyber security.
Okay.
And this office or unit or the resource people showed us data on how Ghanaians use online platforms to access various services. You get it? And it was striking that many people are buying a lot of things online, from clothing to food, etc. Many people are buying things even without seeing the producers of those items.
Yeah.
You get it? So why can't it be surveying? Right? For instance, if I want a market analysis done, right, on maybe real estate trends in Ghana, And think about it. Let's say one of the surveying firms has already conducted this study and has produced this output as what you call an e-product, an electronic product. And it is on the website of the firm, and I can access it by paying money to unlock it. Right? Why wouldn't I do it? Why would I want to spend money to walk into the firm's office to commission the same work when it has already been done and the output is already online and I can just pay money to access it, right? And so there's a lot of opportunity in this space, right? So instead of surveying firms waiting for clients to commission work, what do you call solicited consultancy? Many of the firms can invest in unsolicited consultancy by conducting research work, analysis of interesting topics that investors and citizens may be interested in buying or in assessing. And they can monetize that. You get it? And they would be able to do that using these online platforms, their websites and Facebook and the other social media platforms. You get it? So if you are a student, right? I've always said this. If you are a student and you have skills in these digital tools, like for example, the development of a website, you are able to set up social media platforms and manage these platforms in a way that is helping businesses to generate business lead, right? That I believe many of the firms would appreciate that and will reward you handsomely for that. But you can equally set up your own website. For example, if you're a student, set up your own website and you have good research skills, conduct some of these unsolicited consultancies on topics of interest to investors and to property buyers and so on, and sell those products as e-products on your website. And that could be a very useful way of putting your skills and expertise to use whilst you are perhaps waiting for some big job from somewhere. But I think this is where the whole idea of estate agency, or this is where the whole idea of estate agency is moving towards, right? Yeah. And you don't need the brick and mortar physical presence to be able to do that. Once you can build a credible and trustworthy online presence, you'll be able to sell some of these products.
All right. Thank you very much. I would leave audience if there are any. If you are here and you have any questions, any contributions to the discussion so far, you are free to let us know what your ideas are, what questions you have for you. Doc, also, I think my last thing was actually going to be based on how students can utilize that, and I think you have tied that well into your last statement, so that is okay. Okay, Isaac Dumont Opoku. All right, I think this is Orient Property. Just when Doc mentioned your name, okay. So I'll take two questions. There are two hands up here. Okay, Mr. Dumont, can you please go ahead with your question, and then Tracy will call you after Mr. Dumont's question. Thank you.
Yeah, hello, good afternoon. Thank you to Doug and your team for such a wonderful product. Just yesterday it came in mind. I think the main challenge as outlines probably the generation gap with respect to the online presence. Surprisingly, I think Mr. Azizi and Dr. Jemfi had a training section for valuers on the use of the DCF and the discounted approach in valuation. And some of our seniors even that attended, very well-renowned valuers in the country, were struggling with the use of Excel. So it's like most of the people in the industry or people in managerial position happens to be people of the old age who call themselves born before computer. And unfortunately, in our part of the world, even when there's a junior who can offer a better advice, since it's not coming from a senior colleague within the industry, no one gives hearing to it. So I think mainly, I think that's one of the challenge. Because just yesterday, I was thinking, some decades ago, businesses struggled to be at the most strategic location, whether it's in Edum, or at Mokola, or at the central business district, so that customers can find you. But as Doc was communicating, now people are going online to buy and sell. So if people paid huge sums of money for the most strategic property within the city center, so that they can be located for the to get a fair share of customers that come to the CBD. Now, most things are happening online. I've done valuation reports that even like customer man back, there are reports. I think reports that are printed. There are even firms who tell you they don't even give soft copy, but there are reports that I've printed. I think it's less than 30%, because most of the people we had to work for are people even who are based outside Ghana, people we never met. The only possibly the contact person on the ground, we go and do inspection. As Doc mentioned, by strategically posting yourself, there are law firms in the UK who partner, I think, with our association with RICS too. As Doc mentioned, by the grace of God, this year we've worked for the Canadian government, and the work didn't even come from the British, the Canadian embassy here. It came all the way from Global Affairs Canada. Wow. Their public service and procurement units, because they located us online. So the only time we had to even make contact with the embassy was when somebody from the embassy had to go and show us the place. The guy, he himself was a valuer in Canada. We sent a report dealing with him. Everything was online. I just Friday concluded an assignment for the European Union. Everything is online. So the young ones that are coming over the years, I spent, as I think strategically that age gap is also helping. I spend hours reading, learning about SEO, because now if you're a businessman and you don't know what SEO is, I mean, you are lost, because today we are not paying for the office space at the strategic location, but being online. So the young ones among us, if you are coming into business or into consultancy, your IT skills should be sharp, because now that is where the business takes place. You have to understand Google algorithm, what YouTube uses, Facebook, and all these things, because that is what is going to put you out there. As Doug mentioned earlier, one of the things we also don't do our part of the world is giving free information. You can, as he mentioned, there can be research you can be putting online. You can, as Doug is even mentioned, I have a contact, I think just last Monday, somebody contacted me all the way from India through my LinkedIn account.
Yeah.
So these things are happening that the young ones, you can take advantage with your research, the things that you might not possibly set out a firm, but let your presence, now being your presence online is the new gold. Whether you are a firm or a young professional coming up, how you conduct yourself, the information you share is the new goal. So I really thank you, Doug, and the team for putting it. Unfortunately, I joined late, but I think a couple of things that I've learned from it. So this is the little that I have to share. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Mokuku. And we appreciate your contributions to this. It's very insightful, and it's just an endorsement of what Doc has earlier stated in the findings of this report. Tracy, I don't know if you are there to give us your question, and then we can go ahead with. Are you there, Tracy? All right. It seems we've lost Tracy. So if there's any other question from anybody, you are free to share with us. And you have heard the testimonials from the industry, those who are in the industry, and also from Doc and from this research. So it is up to you to take advantage of some of these that have been discussed here today. Just like people pay to have their strategic locations, there are people who also pay to appear first in terms of Google search. So when you are searching for, there are keywords you search in Ghana, and they will be the first industry to appear on your Google search. There are also that. So there are many options. And I think now we need some people who will go through this school and dedicate themselves to promoting the industry, promote to the promotion of the industry solely online for people to engage them, give these other firms the opportunity to be known out there, and you also make your money through that. So that is also an opportunity available for you. If there is no other question, Doc, if you have some last words for us before we conclude this session, and then maybe hopefully we are going to come up again with another insightful discussion. This is the third in this 2024. As we are going to 2025, we'll have more planned and scheduled to be discussed with you later on.
Okay, I think Bansi has a question.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Yes, mine is not a question, but though it's more or less a question. Yeah. Some of us are also into this IT, this website development and all those things, social media marketing and all that. But we find it difficult to approach firms or people that need our services so that we can also help them in doing that. For instance, I myself, I'm a blogger. I'm into blogging. I'm into web development. I'm also into social media marketing. But the way to approach those people is something difficult that we don't know how to go about it. So I'm asking if Doc or any other person can help with that. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's quite interesting. You know, when we completed this study, we also developed a program around it. As a lecturer at the Department of Land Economy, and I'm not speaking for the Department of Land Economy, right? I'm speaking on my own terms as an academic. I strongly believe that there is a lot of opportunity for us to, you know, create or to bridge some of these gaps. You know, working in collaboration with surveying firms, the Ghana Institution of Surveyors, it is possible we can develop a program where students, especially those taking in the, I think the third or the fourth year, who are taking the real estate agency course or the real estate agency and brokerage course, would also be taught some of these online or digital skills, right? So that they would be able to implement real estate agencies online. You get it? And some of the things we can address is issues around generating business lead or approaching potential customers. For me, I think one of the easiest ways that you can attract a customer, for instance, is to arrange a meeting and go and show them what you can do for them. A lot of the time, if they don't see the value in that, they may not pay for it or they may not show interest in it. But you can decide that because it is the first time you are doing it and you need someone to give you a testimonial highlighting the skill you claim you have, you may want to work pro bono, you know, and during that period, you have the opportunity to demonstrate that you can create value for these surveying firms by deploying your skills. And if really you can show the value that you are bringing to the table, like I said earlier on, I believe the surveyors are rational people and they will begin to invest in this area through your service offerings, right? So those are things we can, you know, discuss a bit more. I believe that formally we can engage the surveying firm or the institution of surveyors on this and see how those of you with the skills, right, can deploy the skills to help them bridge these deficiencies in online presence. Yeah.
All right, Doc. Henry, Henry has a question. Is it necessary for a firm to meet all indicators to achieve an active online presence, or meet some which may be the major indicators for a firm to achieve online presence?
The point is that no, you don't have to meet all of them. But if you are able to meet all of them, the better, right? Because all of these give you the opportunity to show information that may be relevant to a client one way or the other. So if you are able to meet all of them, the better it would be for you.
Correct. Okay, Doc, I quickly want to show people how they can access our website to download the report that we have done so that everybody could get access to the report. You can read it. That will help you to better understand the discussion that we've had here today. So this is our website, the PropIntel. You come to our publications. We have reports and interviews. You can go to reports and interviews, and then we have digital real estate and online assessment, an assessment of the online prices maturity of surveying firms, and then you download it from here. Conversation on real estate. You can also come here and then listen to some discussions that Doc interviews that Doc was engaged in the year so far. So that is it for now. You can download your reports on our website. You can download the report on our website and then enjoy your read. There are also other articles here you can read. This was some of our previous engagements we've had. You can go on the listen and watch the videos and enjoy yourself with some fresh knowledge from our discussions. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining. And we are grateful that you have made it here for us to have this discussion. Expect some more engagements in the future. And this video is going to be uploaded onto our YouTube channel, PropIntel LLC. You can, PropIntel, you can just search it on YouTube and then you enjoy all the other videos we have here. Hopefully, we are going to be rolling out some courses in the future as well for surveyors, valuers, and anybody out there who is interested in the profession. We are going to be rolling out some courses. So expect something more from there. And if you are if you are here and you are working for a surveying firm, we normally send out links for you to upload your stuff on our website so that your names will appear on our website. People who access our website can easily get access to you, engage you for business, and you can also get rated by your customers there. That gives you a better opportunity for you to be known out there. So thank you so much for joining. Doc, if you have no last words, then we can draw the curtains on this.
Yeah, I think I'm okay.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for joining, and enjoy the rest of the day.